Welcome to Weasel Digital, and today we're continuing our series of builds. A lot of new players have recently joined the game. There's a lot of long-term players that have been in the game and are flying some bad ships, using equipment they shouldn't be using, using really bad builds at really bad times. And hopefully this will give you some builds that you can use to improve your play. Today we're looking at the TIE Bomber. And this is an interesting ship because its stats are kind of wedged between a bomber and a fighter. So it can really do some interesting things. And we're going to show you 5 builds here. The first one we're going to be looking at is a very standard fleet battle built basic bomber. This thing is made to do bombing runs against all of the different capital ships, do damage to them, escape back to friendly lines, get repairs. You're going to be running this thing in full power to engines almost all the time because that's really the only thing you care about here. So let's look at that. Because we're going against basically immobile targets, the rotary cannon is our choice here. Good DPS of 766. Does have a 1.4 wind-up time. And a high maneuverability penalty of 50%. But we don't care because the targets we're going against are immobile. And that wind-up time, you can adjust for that by starting that wind-up just before you get to range, so that when you get to 1,000 meters, you're doing that damage. Left auxiliary, we're going to be using our beam cannon. Max DPS of 1,066. Does again have a 1.5 second wind-up time, so again you want to start that before you get to 1,000 meters. The beam lasts for 3 seconds, which means you're going to be doing 3,000 damage with it. High maneuverability penalty of 90%. This combined with your blaster cannon means you're not moving. If you're firing both of these things, you're flying in a straight line and there's nothing you can do about it. Does have a cooldown of 10 seconds, so it's going to be a while before you can get your second shot off with this. Right auxiliary, we're going with our proton bombs. Proton bombs do 1,100 damage. Fire off 1 per second. You have an ammo capacity of 5. And always keep in mind they launch straight down below you. So the entire premise of this bomber is to come in and shortly before 1,000 meters, you start priming your rotary cannon and your beam cannon. You fire them off at 1,000 meters. You do that 3,000 damage from your beam cannon and whatever damage you can get out of your rotary cannon as you position yourself for your bombing run. If the enemy shields are up, you're going to make sure you get close enough to the ship that you're below those shields. If the shields aren't up, you just have to be near it. And then you're going to line up and you're going to drop your 5 proton bombs, doing another 5,000 damage. At that point, you're going to turn your ship back towards friendly lines, and you're going to hit your boost and go full speed back to your line where you can get any quick repairs you need, get rearmed with more proton bombs, and get set up for another attack run. Works really great if you have a support ship on your side that is healing and repairing people. So if you can find a teammate like that, they are a great help for this. You can make those attack runs a lot quicker. Countermeasures, we're going with Seekers. They help protect you in all directions. For our hull, we're going to go with our reinforced hull here. It increases your max health by 50%. Does lower your acceleration and maneuverability, but we're not concerned too much about those factors. We're not dogfighting with this thing. We're not worried about making sharp turns. We're doing an attack run. We can take a lazy turn and then hustle our butts back to friendly protection. For engines, we're going to go with our standard twin ion engine. Good all-around engine. So we understand what we're doing with this. We fly in at full speed, power to engines. You can use up some of your boost getting to that 1,000 meter range. When you get to 1,500 meters, if you want to use it to just get to like 1,100 meters, get a little boost there, that's fine. You'll build that charge back up for your escape. Make your attack with your rotary cannons and beam cannons. Once the beam stops, get yourself into a bombing position, drop your bombs and go. One alternative to this, and it's not an alternative I like to use, but it's not a bad alternative, is the unstable twin engines. It increases your speed and acceleration, which is both pretty good. It does lower your health. So it kind of counteracts your hull upgrade. But when you blow up, it does a large area of damage. If enemy ships are close to you, it's going to do damage to them, possibly knock them out if they're injured. If you're close to a capital ship, you're going to do damage to their hull, any components you're near. You might knock out turrets. If you're close to AI ships, you might blow them up too. So this unstable twin engine is a nice little option to have. It's very annoying to the enemy. They're taking out that bomber, but that bomber's still getting some damage. This is better when you're actually making those attack runs on the MC-75, because chances are you're not going to be getting back alive. This is a ship that once it starts its attack run on the capital ship, on the MC-75, it's done. It's going to stay there and do as much damage as it can. It's not going to try to go back. So that's a potential option there. As you see, that does lower our health to 2860 compared to the standard engines, which leave it at 3300. So you are losing a significant amount of health there, which is why I don't like to use it. I prefer the survivability. One thing to keep in mind is you can do something really nice against the MC-75 with this build. If you come in a little above the center line of the MC-75, you don't want to be too low, otherwise you'll get hit by tractor beams. You can come in straight from the front or from the sides or any angle in between there. And you start your attack run at 1,500 meters with a full charge of your engine. You're going to fire off your boosters. That's going to carry you forward a good 1,000 meters. At 500 meters, your engines should cut out, or you cut them out. You start slowing down and go in right at those gill shield projectors. Once you slip under the shields, if the shields are down, then it's a heyday. You just make your normal attack run. But if the shields are up, you slip under the shields, and you should be slowing down, and you slip under the shields and angle yourself, and you can get it so that you can drop bombs and fire your beams and your main rotary cannon at that shield. If you miscalculate your angles and your speed and whatnot, you're still going to be able to do something. And a lot of times, even when I get captured by the tractor beams, I'll be within the shields. And even though I can't get my bombs on target, I can still get my beam and cannon on target, because those shield generators are a huge target. You can easily take out a shield generator in one run with this thing. A lot of times, if I'm making attack runs on their frigates, and I see that we're about to knock out the last frigate and make that attack run, I'll make sure I'm ready to go with this thing and just swoop in there right away, take out a shield generator right at the start of our engagement. That boosts your player confidence on your team and really sends the opposing team into a panic. That also allows your team to just focus entirely on the other shield generator. So very good, basic bomber, handles those bombing qualities. It's very good at that. Sucks at everything else, though. You only use this thing for bombing. Next up is what I call my shield breaker. This is a great way to strip the shields off the enemy ships, the enemy capital ships, making it easier for other people to make damage to that ship, hull damage or knock out components or whatnot. So we're going to go with our ion cannons, which in this case do 1,920 damage per second, which is a huge amount of ion damage. We're going to go with ion bombs that do 4,000 ion damage, and you carry 10 of these bombs, giving you a potential 40,000 ion damage, which is gigantic. We're going to tie that into proton bomb. We really don't have any other good options. The beam cannon would be acceptable. I go with the proton bombs. If we do knock the shields out, then we can use the proton bombs. If we don't, the proton bombs just add another potential 5,500 damage to those shields to help knock those out. Countermeasures, we're going with our Seeker warheads. Reinforced hull to make sure we can get to the target, do the work that we want to do. And our standard twin ion engines. This entire build is based around just stripping those shields. If you're in the early game and you see that morale's about to tip in your side, switching to this build and then stripping the shields off those frigates real super fast allows your team to just get in and just hammer the hull on those ships, possibly knock them out in just the first exchange. So, very effective shield breaker here, very useful in fleet battles. Our third build is also a fleet battle build, and that is the AI Farmer. In fleet battles, there are little squads, little wings of AI-controlled fighters. X-Wings for the Republic, TIE Fighters for the Empire. Those ships don't do a whole lot of damage. They do a little bit of damage. But they offer you a way to move the morale bar quickly and effectively, especially on defense. They're not great to use when you're on offense. But in that initial exchange when you're trying to win morale at the start, they're a great thing to knock out, to help out. And anytime you're on defense, this is a great way to really boost your morale bar. With a caveat, if you're playing solo queue for fleet battles, this is a great thing for rookie players to do. But if you're not on a team and you're a skilled pilot that should be defending enemy capital ships, leave this to someone else to do. I know it's effective. I know it's helpful to knock out those AIs because it really moves that morale bar. But if you're a good pilot that can shoot down enemy ships, you're going to be better on defense, shooting down missiles, shooting down enemy bombers that are incoming, than you're going to be shooting down AIs. So great for rookies, great for organized play. But if you're a really good player, actually defend your capital ships. With that, let's get into this build. Again, this is an interesting build. If you struggle in fleet battles, like you can do bombing runs, but you just suck at hitting enemy players, this is a good way that you can aid your team on defense. We're going to go with our standard laser cannon. We don't want to be hindered by the loss of maneuverability here. So we're going to go with our standard laser cannon, 640 DPS, really high ammo capacity, so you're going to be able to shoot down lots of ships. We're going to go with our Goliath missile. This thing does 1,000 damage, but also has a 200-meter area of effect. So typically those AI fighters will fly in a V formation. You target that center V X-Wing, hit them with this Goliath missile, and you can actually do damage and possibly knock out the entire group of X-Wings with this. The multi-lock missile is your other auxiliary. It can lock onto 4 separate targets and do 750 damage per target. Again, that's going to be enough to knock out most of these AI fighters. Long cooldown, kind of low ammo capacity, but with the long cooldown, it's not a big deal. Medium homing. Again, what you want to do is you target the lead unit in one group, hit them with that Goliath missile, do damage to the whole crew. Find another wing of X-Wings to go after. Get the multi-lock on 4 of them, shoot down the 5th one with your blasters, and those multi-lock missiles take care of the rest of them. You then just use your blasters to shoot down any AIs you can find at that point until your missiles recharge, and you're able to start picking them off in big groups again. On defense, each AI is worth 3 points, so knocking out 5 AIs is 15 points. That's the equivalent of shooting down 1.5 players while you're on defense. So it's a very quick way to move that morale bar. If you know where to farm those AI fighters, you know how to effectively use your weapons, you can really move that bar fast. For countermeasures, we're going to go with Seeker warheads. For dampener hull, just to keep any locks. If anyone does find you while you're doing this, you're going to be kind of exposed. So those will help keep you alive a little bit. And we're going to go with our unstable engines. If we do get blown up, hopefully we're close to some AIs, and we'll take some of them with us in the explosion. This ship is great. Organized teams will typically be running one, if not two, of these kind of AI farming ships just to really move that morale bar as fast as possible. Next up is a jousting build. This is used in a couple very specific situations. It's great on Yavin in two instances. One, the initial exchange. In Yavin, the two groups start opposed to each other, but very close. Within a second or two, they're within weapons range. This jouster can do a lot of damage straight ahead. The other time it's useful is, again, in Yavin. There's a lot of jousting that happens because one team will kind of get control of the center of Yavin and everyone else spawns on the outside coming in. So whether you're on the inside or attacking from the outside, a lot of times your combat is going to be face to face in a jousting type situation. So having that forward protection and the high damage to units ahead of you can be very effective. So either breaking that hold on Yavin or even defending Yavin. Xavian Abyss is another weird one, where Xavian Abyss, you think of it like a giant toilet paper tube. At the start, you start on either side of this toilet paper tube and fly towards the middle. But when one team gets control of that middle, the other team spawns at the ends of this toilet paper roll and have to fly in. Gives a huge advantage to whoever controls that middle section. So again, if you can come into this with a lot of forward protection and break through and kill one or two units that are defending that, you can help tip the balance so that your side can then get control of that middle. So with this build, we're going with our standard laser cannon. We don't want to lose maneuverability. We still do pretty good damage with this. We're going to take that assault shield. The assault shield is really used for making bombing runs, but we don't use it for that. What this does is it lowers all incoming damage by 90% for 3 seconds. So for 3 seconds, you're almost invulnerable, basically. It does have a very long cooldown, and it does affect your maneuverability. So what you want to do is wait until you're just taking shots. So you're coming in that joust right before you start taking shots, right when you see them firing, you trigger this assault shield, and for the next 3 seconds as you continue to approach, you're reducing all of that damage. That's very, very effective. Allows you to do damage and take very little in return. For the right auxiliary, we're going to be using our multi-lock missiles. Again, in these joust situations, you're going to tend to have multiple enemy targets that you can shoot at. If you get lucky, you get lots of these locks. You can fire those missiles off and do lots of damage to lots of different units. We're going to do Seeker Warheads because, again, we're jousting. A lot of our damage is going to be coming from straight ahead of us. So that Seeker Warhead is the better option here. Dampener Hull lowers the amount of time, or I guess increases the amount of time it takes for them to get a missile lock, which lowers the amount of missiles we have to even deal with. And we're going to go with just a standard twin ion engine. So again, this is just for jousting. Yavin, Xavian Abyss, breaking those holds or that initial exchange. It's an interesting ship for that purpose and is pretty effective at it. You can make a couple adjustments here. If you prefer, instead of the multi-lock, the Goliath isn't a bad option. A little more damage to that one target you're shooting at, and it does have that area of effect. I kind of prefer the multi-lock to hit multiple targets. If you don't think you're going to survive those exchanges, the unstable twin engine isn't a bad option. This increases your acceleration and speed, lowers your max health a little bit, which kind of hurts. That drops you down to 1540, which really kind of bites. But it does mean when you blow up, hopefully you'll be close to enemy units. You may take them out. For breaking those center holds, that can really make the difference and can knock out a couple units, allowing your team a better chance at taking the center. Another option you can do is the reinforced hull. Since you are jousting one-on-one with this thing, It's not a bad option. And that reinforced works really well with the unstable engines because then you still have a boost to your health. Max speed is good. Acceleration and maneuverability are lowered, but again, we're jousting with this thing. So it's not a bad combination. So reinforced hull is good on this. Unstable engine is good on this. Regular engine and dampener hull also good. Any combination of those really makes for an effective kind of siege breaker type jousting unit. Now, last up, like I said, the TIE Bomber is an interesting ship because it's fairly maneuverable. And this last one is built for dogfighting. We make it into something that the enemy is not expecting. So we go with our standard laser cannon because we don't want to lose our maneuverability. For our left auxiliary, we're going with seeker mines. If anyone does get behind us and we can't shake him, we can drop that mine, do some damage to him. Right auxiliary, we're doing multi-lock missiles, although the Goliath is also an option here. Countermeasures, we're going to do seeker warheads. For hull, we're going to go with the agile hull. That lowers our health, but increases our acceleration and maneuverability. And for the engine, we're going to go with our twin ion jet engine, increasing our boost charge and usage rates. So we're going to boost our engine a lot quicker, but we're going to use it up more often too. This creates an interesting ship. You have 1,760 health, which is more than what you're going to see on a lot of TIE fighters, X-Wings, that kind of stuff. Max speed is not bad at 115. Max acceleration of 194, also not bad compared to what you see on other ships. And maneuverability of 86, again, gets you higher than a base TIE fighter and higher than a base interceptor. So it's maneuverable, it can accelerate pretty well, decent max speed. The hull is decent. So people aren't going to be expecting you to be able to do a lot of damage in this thing. But you have those standard laser cannons that do 640, which is pretty high for a blaster. You have multi-lock missiles to hit lots of targets. You have solid seeker mines to do lots of damage. High health despite your agile hull. And with those ion jets, you can quickly build up boost and use it to avoid combat or get into better positions. You're going to be switching back and forth between your standard laser cannons and your ion jets. Don't forget about how you can convert that power back and forth. And this makes a surprisingly decent dogfighter. A little more durable than some of the other dogfighters, but still maintaining decent maneuverability. It is a surprisingly effective dogfighting ship, and most people are expecting you to be a big lumbering Hulk and not be a agile dogfighter. So you can actually kind of surprise people with this and do pretty darn good in dogfights. Wouldn't use it for other plays, though. So we have our basic bomber for fleet battles to just get in and do massive hull damage, knock out main components. We have our shield breaker. Similar kind of build, but built specifically to knock out enemy shields. We have our AI farmer, which is used specifically just to knock out AI in fleet battles. You're going to hunt down those AIs, move that morale bar very fast. Again, if you're the most competent player on your team, don't take this role. I know it's very helpful. I know it's very good. But if you're the most competent player on your team, you need to be playing defense instead of AI farming. We have our Jouster for the initial attack in Yavin or breaking that kind of siege hold on the center in Yavin or Zavian Abyss. And then we have our Dogfighter build with some surprising agility to really outmaneuver other players and put heavy damage on people in dogfighting matches. So hopefully those will give you some good builds, at least to base your starfighters on. Will hopefully help you make the best use out of your TIE Bomber that you can. I hope to see you in battle in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe. and I'll see you next time.